Hey everybody, welcome to FFIB. I am Jason, that is Tom. We are Finger Flicked and Box, and today we are joined by Michael Miller from Tactile Knife Company. Michael, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm glad you could be here. We ran into each other at the Makers Syndicate in Indianapolis at the knife show, and had a quick talk, and I invited you on the show, and you were like, yeah, anytime, and you literally meant it.
Yeah, it worked out. The timing worked out really well. Flew into Dallas here, went to the shop, and I had to work a little bit late today. So timing of this couldn't have been any better.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, I missed out on the Maker Syndicate, so we haven't got to meet in person. But I'm Tom. Nice to meet you, Michael.
Nice to meet you. We've had some correspondence, I'm sure. Yeah. I've joined in on some of y'all's videos. It's always good to hear the perspective of collectors and makers and everybody.
I think there's a couple other Michael Millers in the knife community.
Oh, there's definitely a couple in the group because I had to search through them, and Jason, it's the one with the kids.
Yep.
I hope I tagged the right one. There's
That's
more
right.
than one.
Yeah.
Michael, you should be able to see the comments on the side of the screen.
Yes, sir.
You have it up? Okay. If they're germane, I pull them up, or if they're funny, or if it's something I don't want to talk about, then I don't. But Tom and I usually take turns pulling those up.
We will definitely see something and just be like, no, didn't see that one.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Well, I'm hoping to get a few more people in here. Tom, I just pinned it.
No, good call.
It should be at the top of the group right now.
Does anyone have a beverage? I got my root beer. I'm kicking it old school, Jason. I'm bringing it back.
Look at you. Nice.
It's been a while. I saved this last one just for FFIB.
We had enough great bourbon at the show. I'm transferring over to water for today. Yeah.
Probably best. On Saturday night, I managed to convince Bill Koenig to come hang out with us, and I tempted him with a bottle of Blanton's. He was like, I'm there. So we went and found a corner, and we hung out and talked about the time and sipped some bourbon and flicked some knives. And then let's see, Craig Brown came by, and they were picking over a couple of my knives with fine detail. It was making me nervous.
It was a really great lineup of people. Was really glad and honored that Tactile was invited to exhibit there, and also just the flow of the show. It was a really good experience. It was kind of an odd. This definitely the first Sunday only show that I've attended. So today being Monday, being the day after the show is kind of an awkward thing, but it worked out flawlessly for how my work schedule works.
Can you believe that's the first time they've ever hosted a knife show?
Yeah. It was really great.
I thought you would never have known it was the first attempt. I thought everything was pretty flawless from the visitors' side. It went pretty great.
Yeah, Oz, that crew did an amazing job hosting that event. The way they had it set up, they had it at a nice wedding venue, so a lot of that stuff was turnkey in that sense. They had a really great setup for the room itself, and every single maker was just top tier. So they got a great list of people exhibiting, and I think that was definitely a massive part of it. Like, hell, where can you get Koenig, Oz, Holtz, and all these other great makers in the same room together? Edison with Sharknifco, like everybody was having a great time, and everybody had a great show.
Alex Steingraber of SPK. That was the first show he's ever done. He's never done a show, Tom.
That was the first time I got to see his work, and it was really well done, really extremely well executed.
I'm such a big fan of watching him go. Like he went from just being a guy, and Tom and I interviewed him 3 years ago, back when he was just regrinding Spydercos, and he was just doing it for fun. And then from there, he decided to try a fixed blade. And from there, he said, I'm going to do a folder. And if you follow him on Instagram, you could kind of watch the progression as he learned and grew. It's been pretty cool. So finally got to meet the guy. That was nice.
No, I had many friends that they were like, his knives are some of the best in this entire show floor. And I got to handle some on Saturday night at the pre-party. And also at the show as well. And they're flawless. Really well executed.
Really well done. No question.
I think the coolest thing about him that we learned was just what steel is that one you have there, Jason?
I've got one that's Crew Air and one that's K390.
See, that's what I think is cool is that he uses those steels, and I know that they're heat treated like by a mad scientist because he's very particular about that. So that's pretty cool. See that?
Yeah, he worked all that out years ago when he was doing his fixed blades. He would do
Yeah.
batches of different steel and test it until he got it right. And yeah, so now he knows what he's doing.
The metallurgy side of the knife industry is definitely a challenge for anybody that tries to pursue that. And like I really love like I don't know we're in the Spyderco group, so like I've got a PM2 in Maximate that I've been carrying lately, and I got it at the gathering. But it's just like the willingness for companies to work with multiple steels. Like it's honestly really a challenge as a company or as a maker to have more than one SKU of steels in your shop. Like I know Chris Reeves is famous for saying we're only going to run one. We'll transition as a shop, and like it took them forever to go from S35 to S45, from S45 now into MagnaCut, because they did not want to have multiple different steels transfer in the shop at once.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had multiple knife makers explain that to me. I didn't really understand why. And I'm like, well, Spyderco has it figured out. But they're seem to be the exception to the rule. Everybody else is like, you don't understand. Like all of our processes have to change. All of them, from sanding to drilling to everything.
I'd love to know like how they do it so flawlessly, because again, like you said, you're sanding, you're drilling, you're finishing, you're grinding, your heat treat, your corrosion resistance. So like you have to be careful with this. Like you have to oil them post every single process. Like all these steps and all these processes, like how does a company of that size manage to have 50 or 40 SKUs, 20 SKUs, whatever the SKU count, probably somewhere around 20 SKUs of different steels that they cycle through in a year. And like my hat's off to them, because I don't want to deal with that. I'll stick with MagnaCut and we'll stay happy over here.
I think the funny thing about Spyderco is when people take out their blades to do a blade swap, they're like, why are all these weird holes? They're like, it's like 3 D10 holes, and like that's how they keep track of them before they're raised, because otherwise, how would you tell?
Yeah, so that's definitely like on that note. Like so from our side as a production shop as well, whenever we transition from 20CV to not 20CV, from
XHP
to 20CV, and then from 20CV to MagnaCut, we change the EDM profiles or the profiling of the blade itself, so that we could have an indication that we knew whenever we were processing this knife, what steel is it and how should it be handled. Make sure we ran them all together.
It's a clever way to
Texas. Yep, that makes 2 of us at least.
Michael, we got a little off track from what we had talked about a few minutes ago.
For sure.
Why don't we rewind a little bit and you tell us about your role at Tactile, and I'm really interested to know what it is that made you guys decide to transition from being a very successful pen company into trying your hand at knives.
So like I wasn't part of Tactile whenever it was solely a pen company. Will Hodges sent me a Facebook message of all things and was like, hey man, do you want to help me start a knife company? And at the time I was working with my wife on a handkerchief company that worked with everyone from Chris Reeves to Microtech, like 60 total different brands we'd work with. And then I had just started going full steam with a coin company with a friend of mine in Hawaii.
Wow.
So I was doing well and I was spread really thin. And I was like, man, I ain't got time for that. And he's like, man, you probably want to do this. So I gave it some more thought. My wife and I prayed about it. We really decided like this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I've always loved this knife industry since a kid. Like I got given my first knife whenever I was 5. I was buying knives whenever I was a young kid to teenager, carrying Benchmays whenever I was 12. So like knives have always been a passion of mine. Whenever I had the opportunity, I had to jump on it. As far as like the story of the pin company, Will Hodges did a Kickstarter, and that's how it originated back in 2013. And so we're celebrating 10 years this year of Tactile Turn as a company. And the success of that Kickstarter just really boosted him into having the ability to create a company off of it. It was relatively slow for a while. Like you had 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, and it just stayed there, and it did well, and it did everything it needed to do. In 2019, he really focused on growth, and he started working with some guys on like how to grow things bigger and better and stronger, and really actually 2018, 2019 had a really aggressive track, and every year it just kept growing and growing. So in 2020, whenever he decided he wanted to start a knife company, he had a very successful base of a company that made pens. So we had all the turning capacity that we could ever need, and we had some of the milling capacity that we needed, and an EDM. So we utilized the machines we had, and like whenever I got hired on, they didn't have a fully fleshed out model. It was a 3D printed model. It was a little aluminum model that had a crappy handsaw blade, and like we were just like, this is kind of what we want. Okay, I was like, well, what are we gonna do? There was a season that we talked about just making scales for other knives, and like starting off at that and then transitioning. We're like, no, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So by California Custom Knife Show, that was like the third week in October, we had the first prototype. And I got to take it was a flipper at the time. I got to take that to that knife show and show the knife community, like, this is what we're working on. This is what's coming. And we showed a lot of people followed us, got behind us. Like, this is a new knife company. This is also a knife company that wants to be a production company. And like we had that storyline. We had a great group of guys. We still have such an amazing group of guys. And we all work together, all wearing different hats, all like focusing on different areas of the business, and really made the rock wall happen. So that was March 2021 was the first time we sold any of those. And then about a year later, we transitioned. Actually, no, about like 8 months later, we came out with the Bear, which was a slip joint. And it's just a really slim, classy 2-ounce, super thin slip joint that TSA somehow doesn't seem to catch up on scanners.
Wow.
That's a different subject. And then shortly after, we heard from the community, and they didn't like that our flipper was on cageless bearings. So we had to redesign it, and we wanted to keep the same form factor. So we turned it into a thumb stud. And so we've now have the Rockwall that y'all have the ability to purchase now. Like that's what the Rockwall came from, was from a flipper. And it's now a thumb stud that has a really snappy, amazing action. I really do think this is amazing as far as like for the price tag, what you're able to get as a USA made product with the materials that we use. We've learned how to grind in this black magic way, and now we have invested in Will's 100% has no fear in getting what we need as a company and giving us access to that.
Yeah.
So whenever we needed to be able to grind blades, because guess what? Like a full slab of metal doesn't cut anything. Whenever we were grinding blades, we had to figure out how to do that well. We used a mill to do it originally for the first 700 or so flippers, and then we got a bevel grinder. So it's called a Seatman bevel grinder, and what it is it has 2 grinding stones that grind blades. So every time you push the button, one side of a blade is ground, and on the other side, the second side is done. So you have a fully completed blade to be able to go in through finishing and all the other processes.
Wow.
But that machine, man, that's about a $500,000 machine, and it took over 8 months for us to finally get possession of it, because it was also in the middle of COVID and everything else, and the machines are made in Germany. So like we got it in, we had to do. Yeah, it was a wild ride. We had to do a lot of experimenting and to learn it, to figure it out, to dial it in. Like we didn't have a lot of people that were like, hey, this is how you run this machine. Because guess what? There's only like a handful of these in the United States. The only other people that have it are other knife industry makers like Leatherman and Cutco runs Siemens, I believe. And there's a few others as well. But like you have 2 really, really big companies in that realm. They're Siemens and Burgers. They're different formats, and like other people in this industry use a lot of Burgers. We decided to go with Siemens, and we're really happy with it.
Michael,
go ahead.
Earlier you mentioned about like reinvesting in growing the business, and I think I remember that time. There was a point, you might remember, Tom, right before COVID. It felt like tactile pens were inescapable. They were all over Instagram.
Yeah.
You would see the ads in Facebook. They were popping up a lot. The website got really easy to navigate, and they just look good. Like visually, you wanted to hold the pen in the picture, and when you scrolled, you'd see the versions of the pens, and it was really understandable. I think a lot of the industry misses that part. They don't really think about the marketing of the product and then making it desirable. I can think of a couple companies, Tom might know who I'm thinking about, where they make wonderful products, but it's really difficult to shop it because you just like you get lost in the menus and you're like, I don't even know what it looks like. And then you give up and you go buy something else. So you guys really hit that on the head. It sounds like that was right around that time.
Yeah, one of the individuals that's in the core crew was like worked in Silicon Valley for a long time. He's a native Texan as well, but like he learned email campaigns and like really how to do those as efficiently as possible for massive companies. He learned the aesthetics and he learned what went well within the industry that he was in, and they crossed over a lot of that, especially with the pen company. And like they've got the individual that does the photography, marketing, and social media for the pen company. He's been working with Will since nearly the beginning of the pen company, like for over 10 years. And like they have a great friendship, work extremely well together, and like they know what the hell they're doing on the marketing of pens. Regretfully, with knives, we can't use the standard form of social media advertisement and stuff like that. We can't pay to show it to people. So the only way we grow is like word of mouth, trade shows, and stuff like that. And so like we're playing a different game as the two companies, and it's very like you can see it in here at the shop, even just like these are two very different companies, and they're set up that way. Some of it's also, like I said, because like they wanted to be able to keep Facebook ads and Google ads for the pen company, and the knife company can't play that game. So we have to grow differently as two different entities that still work together and still help each other out.
For those of you watching at home, you need to understand this about the industry that you love. These guys cannot market knives on the social media platforms that you like. It's very, very difficult to do that because these social media platforms stifle that type of product, and not because it's illegal, but because they've decided that it violates their own opinions about what should and shouldn't be marketed. And so it's a very delicate thing. And even, I don't know, it just makes it hard. So every time one of you buys something like this, and then you take photos of it and you post it on your own and you tag the company, you're helping them in a big way, because that's marketing that they can't even buy on their own. They cannot take a bag of money to Instagram and buy that ad. They just won't sell it.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting doing it as a fledgling company or as a startup. Like, how do we get our product in front of more people? We can always we can send emails to people that have bought pens. We can try and work with and do collaborations with people. We've got an amazing collaboration with a very reputable gun company coming up with the Maverick. But like even that makes it where the knife company's even more fringe, and like shit, like there has been discussions of like what do we do if Meta just pulls the plug from us? And I don't see that happening, because I think we have to be very strategic. Like I love firearms. I'm 100% avid firearm collector, user, enthusiast, and I love taking pictures of them. But like now I can't, because like I'm part of a knife company, and if I get flagged, other accounts that I'm associated with get flagged, and like what does that do for Tactile?
Right.
There's definitely a Venn diagram of, just going back to the pens and the knives. Definitely some people, there's definitely different audiences. There's definitely a lot of crossover between all three of those different aspects, and navigating how, we don't prohibit firearms in the group, but we're understanding that people are very, really into them. And there's definitely a lot of people that get really jazzed up when you start talking about it, and people come out of the woodworks and stuff. But when you're managing a company and that kind of stuff can take you down, it's maybe it's not worthwhile, I guess.
Yeah. So as far as I think this was also said, and I don't think I really touched on it, but like, what is my role in Tactile? So like I was hired on as a community manager. I'm very tied into this industry. Like I've been, this year should mark 50 knife shows that I've been to since 2016. Like I have hit the pavement hard to be involved and to be a member of this community because I love it. Always have, always will. And like, so right now I spend a lot of time helping run some of the social media. I also like help with some of the designs, some of the like idea planning, some of the colorways, like what materials and stuff like that we run. And I just team player, try and help any way I can. I've helped a lot with quality control, helped a lot with customization, like what are we going to do for limited releases and stuff like that. But even that, like I'm a member of a team. I'm not a star. I'm not the cornerstone or anything like that. Like there's operations manager's offices right here. Like I've got the metallurgist and EDM laser specialist is right next to me. Next one over is the guy that's in charge of all of our lathes. Over next to him is our shop manager, and then we have our mill programmer and manager for that department, and then Will's office is over on the end over here. But like we all work together. We're all part of a team. This is a really great camaraderie that we have here in Texas.
Takes a team.
Yeah, man.
Well,
does.
I want to give you guys a compliment about the rock wall.
Thanks.
I've handled many of them through the time that you've been making them, and they continuously get better. No question. I handled a very low serial number, and at the time I wasn't certain that I loved it. And then it wasn't long after that I handled another one where the serial number was significantly higher. And I was like, this is almost not the same knife. You guys are very adaptive to improving your product in a way that a lot of other companies don't. They just kind of falter, or they don't change or innovate. What is it that you guys are doing that's so effective there?
We really do give a shit. We really do. We care about our customers. We listen to our customer service, and whenever we have a problem, we're willing to press the red button, stop shit, and figure out what the hell we can do to fix it. So like, awesome. I'll be flat out honest. Like we took probably one of the biggest challenges you can make as a fledgling knife company, making a liner lock, which is harder than a frame lock as far as like the mechanics of it. Flipper is just pretty much stupid because you want to have a detent pressure that's hard enough where if you flick it, it always opens. But getting that detent dialed in is a pain in the ass. It really is. So like I'll be honest with you. A thumb stud is an easier, more consistent detent than a flipper is. Now our guys were trained on making flippers, so like I believe 100% we can make an amazing flipper. We'll get more on that later. And like we can also make an amazing thumb stud. Like we've figured out how to do that. But we challenged ourselves to make not an impossible knife, but a very difficult knife. So like there was a growing pains in that process and we thought we had it dialed in. I kept pushing back and wanting a little bit more, and they kept dialing it in more, and we got like an amazing product. Then it got a little bit too stiff, and we had people complaining like, man, I can't even use my knife because I can't get my thumb on there. And I'm like, well, as a knife guy, I'm like, oh, come on, you should be able to do it. But like then we have to find that honey spot of like, this is our tolerance of plus or minus. If it's too strong, and like you don't really have a machine that says like, this is a good detent. You don't really have a machine that says like, this is a good edge, this is a good finish, this is a good this is a good that. Like some of this stuff is like, we've got to figure this out ourselves. We got to figure it out by customer response and all that other stuff. And like I'm extremely thankful that our customers have been willing to critique and let us know whenever we have difficulties or problems so that we can focus on those. I do strive and I do hope that our company is able to get to a point where as soon as we have a product release, it is at maybe not the pinnacle, but it is far and beyond what issues are. Yeah. And that, like Holden brought it up, like an issue with the Maverick QC. And we had to have a really good turnaround. We always try and take care of our customers. Our issues that we had with the Maverick were the same issues we have with the Rockwall, same issues we had with anything. Is like we've never made the same knife twice. We've never made a liner lock twice. We've never made a slip joint twice. So I'll be flat out honest with you. an axis lock was a pain in our ass.
And
it's a system that everybody thinks is easy to make, but it can have a lot of difficulties. So if it doesn't have the perfect spring, the perfect lockup, the perfect angle, it can have lock rock. It can have a little bit of blade play side to side, and like dialing in where it's a good enough of a knife for the industry standard is a very difficult challenge. And it was something that we had a extremely hard time getting through in the first few months of releasing the Maverick. And I wish we could have released what we're releasing now, because holy crap, like this is a different knife than whenever we first released. We've added like adjustments to the spring so you can have different positions. Like we've dialed in some things. Again, like our goal as a company is to release something, and we'll talk about that later, that is turnkey done and like all-star level. And yes, it could get higher because we can find where that pinnacle is. I'm not sure if we are quite at that tippity top, but like, man, we're as a knife, not aficionado, but a collector enthusiast, like we are striving every single day to make the best products that we can. And I'm glad we're able to make these improvements. I'm glad to work with a team that's not saying like, no, we can't do it. Instead of how can we do it is the response. How can we fix this? Let's talk together as a team and figure out like, what do we need to adjust? What do we need to change? And in the process, in whatever process, like we have a lot of people that their pride doesn't get in the line. Instead, it's let's work together to solve a problem. And
there's other brands out there that don't approach it the same way. They almost tell their fan base like,
you're wrong.
Don't talk about it. Don't say those things out loud. And then when you bring it up in the fan groups, then they tell you that you're the problem, that it's designed that way, and how dare you? Or maybe your thumbs are wimpy. Tom, how many times you read that crap?
The wimpy thumbs, you're talking about me specifically right now, right?
Well, I mean, just like if they blame the user rather than blame the product.
Yeah. People get very precious about their own designs. I'm the same way. Like you get defensive about like things that you create, but there is no changing public sentiment just because you want to shit on somebody and tell them that they're wrong. Like Spyderco is a CQI. I don't know if that's an industry standard term for quality improvement, but things can get better. So why not get them better?
Yeah. Like you said, Jason, like the Rockwall, like even the early Thumbstuds, this is a better knife. And like we strive to do that. And like we love the improvements, and we love like, okay, well, how can we change finishing to make a better knife? How can we change this to make a better knife? Like one of the things that we've done is like, I don't have one here with me, but like even the iteration from the standard blade to the Tonto has a relief where there's this hump here that gets taken away, so you have a little bit better lock bar access. It doesn't affect like the knife other than just making it easier to function. And like some of those small details, like being able to polish and dial them in, has been a privilege to be a part of.
I was at Blade Show 22, walking along with my friend Casey, and we walked by the Tactile display, and I really had no intention of buying a knife, but I stopped and I looked at him, and a young lady that works at your shop, and I don't remember her name now, maybe Sarah.
Yeah, she used to work here. Yeah.
Okay. At the time, she came over and started helping me, and the enthusiasm that she had for the product was crazy. And she's just putting knives in her hands, and it was infectious. And then before you know it, we're both looking at each other like, this is a really nice knife. And I was just like, I'm taking this one home. It was the last one with the Zerk studs in it.
Oh, sweet, man.
So
yeah,
I love it. It's the deceptively good knife. It's small. I see Patrick Bryan is trying to decide between the Rockwall and the Maverick. I would just say that like this is a relatively small gentleman's knife compared to the Maverick, which is slightly longer, a little bit bigger, a little more blade. So I would say if you want a small knife, go Rockwall. If you want a medium-sized knife, go Maverick.
Yeah, the size difference on these two is pretty massive. So you're not really gaining any thickness. We definitely kept the Maverick on the thin side of things, and that was one of our biggest goals, because we like Will's Will's language for this company is to not like take up much pocket space, to be somewhat minimalistic and efficient in what pocket space we take up. So thin is always going to be a goal. Also, a thin edge makes it where you have a sharp knife, or not a sharp knife, a knife that can cut more efficiently. Maverick has a different locking mechanism, so if you like the fidget factor of an axis lock, then definitely go with that. If you like bearings, the Rockwell has bearings, the Maverick doesn't. If you like Richard Rogers, who's the designer of the Maverick, then that's another reason maybe to go that route. And
Michael, I like to say I like my knives to knife. I want
my
knife to knife. So if you build me a big fat blade that's more of an awl, I'm not going to use it to knife things. So I probably won't end up in my pocket. It'll just be part of the collection that I don't carry, and then those get sold.
There are knives that are like needed to be more pry bars, but that's whenever you get more in the fixed blade category, and that's we've dabbled a little bit with that, and we're going to dabble some more. We're talking with the maker and dialing in a process of dialing in a new model that we're going to be releasing soon, and hope to release a few more in the near future as well for fixed blades.
I do believe you slapped a prototype in my hand while we were at the Makers Syndicate, and I was very, very impressed.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. So like the Tactile as a company started off doing in-house designs. So the Rockwell was an in-house design, the Bear was an in-house design. Our first collaboration design was the Dread Eye from Matthew Christensen, and it's just a slim, sleek little Tonto fixed blade that is like the right size for a 4-finger grip, even with my XL fucking big ass hands. Sorry for the French. And like it's still Magna Cut, it's 63, 64 HRC, and like we really liked working with makers. And I, as someone who's loved collaborating with all these different companies and all these different makers, like that's been a goal of mine. I've got so many great friends that were makers. Matthew's a great friend that I got to hang out with this weekend. So like whenever we were talking about knives, and we were at Blade West last year, we started talking with TJ Schwartz and Lucas Burnley, who were really great friends. And Lucas was like, TJ, man, you should really try and design for Tactile. TJ Schwartz is known for designing like his fixed blades are the Overlander and the Overlander Sport. He's got a couple other models. He's got a collaboration with Lucas that just released. He's got quite a few designs with CRKT. He's a knife designer by trait, who is now a knife maker more and more every single day. And he has really amazing lines and has developed some really amazing frame block flippers. And that was the category that we really wanted to make a new knife of. So we asked him, hey, can you design a frame block flipper? And this is what came. This is the Archer. Let me take a minute and zoom in on this. So the Archer is a Magna Cut. Say again?
Look at you with a good camera.
Sorry. Thanks. Nice. So we are fully machined, 3D contoured titanium with Magna Cut on bearings, larger form factor than any of our other knives. So like comparatively, if you were a fan of the Rockwell, like this is substantially larger. Yeah. If you're a fan of the Maverick, it's pretty close, but it's a little bit thicker. So like this is the next knife that Tactile is going to be releasing. We're making the first 10 like prototypes that we're going to use the shit out of for a couple weeks, and then we hope to have a small batch available at Blade West.
Oh, wow. On my little screen, I can't quite make it out, but for those of you at home, if you were to hold that knife, what you would really be blown away by is the Archer style, the feather style milling on the handle.
You might be able to see the transition. So like you have this high point with
try tilting it
similar. They're kind of there it is. So it's kind of hollow ground is what it feels like.
Yes.
So we do plan on releasing two different versions of this. This is version 1. It's not going to have the windowed little areas. It's going to be fully machined, and this is going to be a little bit more affordable. And then we also are going to do a fully smooth version that's going to have windowed pockets for inlays. First release should be carbon fiber, because again, this is a super stupid thin knife as well, and stupid light. So as far as like the design language of this, it's definitely it has a thumb hole to be able to open it. It has a really great purchase grip. You can choke up without worrying about hitting the edge, but it's got a great ergonomics, a little bit of a Persian sweep. It's got a great flow, organic lines to it. It's
Look at that, Tom. You can clamp it.
Definitely different than any other knife that we make. And like, again, I've got an XL hand and I've got full purchase on this with no issues at all. So like this is the next knife that we're releasing. We're dialing in a few finishes. So like the what you see here is a prototype. It's not the exact model that's going to be releasing. Right. Expect to see some pictures in the near future of exactly what y'all are going to be able to have available at Blade Show West. Extremely limited quantities because these are not easy for us to make. The machine time that goes into these handles is astronomical, especially on the smooth version, to be able to do that efficiently. Like,
are you comfortable telling us like how many hours it takes?
Yeah.
Is that a secret? So,
no, it takes over an hour and a half to make this one scale. I believe is what Matt said.
Isn't that called an operation? So one operation, like
no, I'm including both operations of the machine time. So to be able to make the smooth, the internal side is not very difficult. The smooth texture on the outside, that's what we're really sinking a lot of investment as far as machine time into making it smooth, getting those pockets in, and having it really be clean. So we're really excited to release this. This is definitely a step in a different direction for Tactile. Like, I'm just going to put this next to the microphone. It's got a very good authoritative little clack, really good detent reset. Uses a lock bar insert. We've spent a lot of time developing and making sure like we have good lock engagement, no lock fail, good action, good detent pressure, adjusting the webbing of the webbing thickness of the relief cut for the lock bar. A lot of prototyping has been involved in the last 3 months. We had the first prototype at Blade Show. That was extremely rough still. And then we've spent the last 3 months dialing in the action, the fit, and now we're getting into the finish. We'll dial in the finish for the next few weeks. We'll carry the shit out of these prototypes, and we'll have the first batch available at Blade West, which is October 10th. I don't know the exact dates.
I'm not sure either. Maybe somebody could throw that in the comments.
I think it's 13th. I can just pull it up on my calendar real quick.
I like the pocket clip on that knife. It has a good clearance, but it looks like it would grab well without dragging. Pocket clips matter more than people realize in terms of like whether or not you'll love carrying the knife.
Yeah, so it has a little bit of milled texture here. It's smooth here. Has the windowing, and then this is actually thinner than the production version. It'll have a little bit thicker, so it won't be quite as sharp. But it will be like the retention on it. We've already tested the new version. The retention on it's amazing. The tension on this is good. It's just that it's not as pleasant. So we went with a little bit more rounded, a little bit thicker for the full production.
I cut you off a minute ago, Tom. Sorry about that.
Well, I mean, there's nothing that can kill a knife to me quicker than a bad pocket clip. Like, if I can't put it in my pocket, it's not going in my pocket. So I have very delicate hands, and so like I pick up on all those like the sharp feelings and the points. Like the V1 of the Veros that came out had like a pointed up tip on the pocket clips. I love Joseph and I love his knives. I never carried it once because, just that feel in hand is so important to the actually using a knife, not just taking pictures of it, not just flicking it around, but actually carrying it. It's vital. So,
thanks.
The prototyping time and all the time you're going to have carrying, it's definitely going to pay off.
Yeah. Like we've spent like we've been working on this project since Blade West. We've had a full functioning prototype since Blade Show. So early June this year. So we spent the last 3 months really just dialing in how this functions, how the action feels, how crisp it is, how deep does the detent go in, how does the lock bar engage? What angle are we grinding the blade for the lock engagement? And we're so close to having the final bow on it product. We're not going to have the packaging all dialed in whenever these release. So like if you get one of these prototypes, you're going to get a little bit more raw of a presentation, but you're going to get the final version of the knife. So I know I love packaging. I love the small details because the devil's in the details. But like this is an amazing knife in the details of the knife, and I'm proud to be a part of a team that put this together. I'm proud to work with TJ. He was an amazing designer, and we're excited to not transition, but develop more product lines in this realm of a really high end, clean, well done flipper. And I think that's going to be
maybe transition's the wrong word. It's just growth. You guys are growing.
Yeah. Develop a new sector of the company. We're not getting rid of anything. We're still going to be making Rockwalls, Mavericks, Bayers, fixed blades. But we are also wanting to stretch our legs and show off. Any thoughts on a non-flipper version? For sure. So I'm not the best at the middle finger flick on this knife. I'm good at a lot of other knives. But there's quite a few people at the shop that have dialed that in. There's quite a few people that whenever we went to the Makers Syndicate were able to flick that without even thinking about it. So I definitely want to do one of those. And I personally need to practice more to be able to get it dialed in myself.
There does seem to be a trend right now where people are pushing towards a non-flipper or flipper delete. I'm seeing a growth of that in some other brands where the flipper deletes are popular. So I don't know, maybe that's becoming a thing.
It is. It definitely is. Like look at Oz. They don't make a flipper, and it's fine. Like and even Koenig did a flipper delete on the Arius as well. Right. For some of a small run of it. So for sure we'll do a flipper delete version. For sure we'll have plenty of different versions of this. I think textures are going to change. I think inlays are going to change. Like this is a knife that we plan on keeping around for a good while and showing y'all different versions of it.
You guys are good at scaling up too. It feels like it's scarce in the beginning, and maybe I should overpay on the secondary. But if you just hold out a little while, they're going to be available. Dealers will have inventory. You guys are good at like lifting quick.
We try. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that on the Archer. I'm just going to be flat out honest. Just because the machine time that this eats up. Like we still have to keep the doors open, and we still have to move enough volume to keep the lights on. So with the Archer, if we put all of our effort into it, we might be able to, but then we don't have any of the other product lines. And so I don't know if we're going to be able to make enough to meet the foreseeable demand. Hopefully there's a lot of demand for it. If there's not a lot of demand for it, I guess we'll meet it then. But I don't, with looking at our machine times, unless we come up with some voodoo magic, I don't see us doing too many units of this every month.
Michael, if I remember right, you guys were one of the first to adopt MagnaCut.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you were the first, but you were among the first that I can think of. The Rockwall was XHP. I guess there was a 20 CV period that I don't remember. You just mentioned it earlier, but I remember you guys being really quick to market with MagnaCut. Was that scary, or did you just feel like you had it figured out?
It was definitely scary. So I'll tell you the flat out story. So we're in a new building, but in the original building that the knife company started in, I guess as soon as MagnaCut came out, Will was like, this is going to be something. Learn's not just some bozo that's saying, hey, we got a new steel, and Crucible's not going to spend this much time in R&D unless this is really, really proven that this is going to work. So he was like, order me a full roll of it, cut to this parameter. So we were one of the first people to get a delivery of MagnaCut, and then it sat on our shop floor. And we try to dial in the heat treat process to get a good heat treat. We worked with our local heat treater. We worked with a couple other heat treaters to try and get the number where we needed it to. And then we got the number where we needed it to, and then we had to figure out how to grind it. And then we had to figure out how to sharpen it. Because if you don't know, like if you have a raw MagnaCut blade and you wanted to put an edge on it, like it's more difficult to do that than it is on a 20CV or M390, which is equivalent. It's substantially harder to do that than on an XHP. So like every step of the way we had a learning curve, and every step of the way we tried to do everything we could to get past it. We did. We weren't able to hit a high HRC for MagnaCut at the beginning. So it was 6061, and we're able to hit that now, except for with the Rockwall. We've still had that at 6061, and it is going to transition. We figured out how to get it to 6364, but now all product lines that are being produced are going to be 6364 HRC for all the models. Our fixed blade was the first to hit those numbers, and then we brought that over to the Maverick. The Maverick released at those numbers as well.
Is that HRC consumer driven, or do you guys find that there's a functional difference to have a 64 versus a 62?
So I'll put it this way: this is a gentleman's knife. It was what you called it,
right?
And I believe that it is that. Is it capable to be used as a more utilitarian? Use it every single day, all day, every day. Yes. But even at 61 HRC, like we haven't seen, nor have we seen customers with the final product have issues with that HRC.
Right.
So 100% it's a consumer based people that want to see those numbers on the COA card. So we've always tried and we've always pushed, and like we never gave up on raising to a higher number. Like our metallurgist Tim, he focuses on that stuff. And whenever I remember like many meetings that we were like, Will was saying, we got to get this number up. We got to do whatever we can. And we worked with our heat treater extensively to dial it in. And it took forever, and it took them a lot of learning curve. So like it's not just us as a shop. Like it's not our fault that this had happened. Like this, like all the heat treat shops had a new steel that they had to figure out too.
Right.
Like we had to figure out how to machine it, how to sharpen it, how to do this. But like they had to figure out a lot of shit on their end. So like we're extremely thankful and grateful that we have a shop that works well with us, that Tim is able to be involved in. And we look forward to whatever comes next. Like if I know we talked about early in this episode about like running a shop with multiple steels. And I don't think that that's something we want to do in the foreseeable future, like immediately. But if there's a new steel that comes out that's better than MagnaCut, we want to give that a shot, and we'd love to be on the forefront of that and to help this industry any way we can.
It's funny. Laren did a video about the HRC, and he talked about there's really nothing wrong with running it at 62. It's not a crisis. It's not going to fall apart, and running it at 63, 64, what are you going to gain? What do you lose? He tried to address it, but I definitely do see a perception out there among the buyers that it needs to be, like the cork sniffers will tell you, that it has to be a certain vintage or it's no good. And it's interesting to hear it right from your lips that maybe it matters less than some of us think it does.
I help extensively with our customer service, and the end consumers were not having issues with our HRC. We had two fluke instances that it looked like the heat treat didn't hit the number right for two blades that tested. One tested at 59, but everything else that we've ever seen has tested well. We test every batch that comes back. And like if somebody has a problem and they're saying they're having bad edge retention, we try and get the knife shipped in so that we can test it and see like, hey, are we having issues with this? And or what are you having issues with this with? Is it that we've messed up and we burnt the edge whenever we were sharpening it? Like, and we try and look at those small details, and like thankfully we've got a good sharpener, and like I'll say this, like Tom, you sharpen knives, but a good sharpener, especially for someone who can handle a small production company that we are, is a dime a dozen, man. Like, I'm not dime a dozen. It's a diamond in a rough. It's a needle in a haystack, and like training somebody to be able to be a good sharpener is a very difficult thing. And we've had to train a couple people, and like, thank goodness we've got a guy right now that's really got it dialed in. We've had any other person that's in that position has rose to the occasion and honed their craft. And like, their focus is not burning edges. The focus is doing it well and having a great product. And I'll be flat honest, our edges right now are sharper than they've ever been. And I'm excited to see what happens in 6 months, because I do think that's a process that's going to continually improve over time, especially with how young of a company we are. The individual we have right now has previous sharpening experience, but still he doesn't have the 20 years experience that a lot of these production shops have under their belt, with each employee like sharpening as their livelihood for that long. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for us. And also, I hope that the viewers here take time to appreciate any edge that they get, and how much detail and how much work goes into getting a good one. If it's not quite as good as you want it to, I know that there's people that you can dial it in yourself. Like, there's plenty of YouTube videos for that. Give other companies grace. Definitely let us know, but like, talk to us about it.
I mean, one thing, like you say, it's hard to find a good sharpener. The most interesting thing I see tons of different knives, stuff that I would never buy or never handle. So it's like completely surprising to me. It's amazing how many knives are like butter knives with factory edges. Like, it's crazy how many bad edges I see from just like, oh, I thought that was a good company. And it doesn't mean it's a bad knife, but maybe they haven't got the edge quite figured out yet. Yeah, there's definitely not. It's not universal. Not everything is like a Spyderco where you can rely on it's going to be whatever sharpness is going to be. That's not a universal standard in the industry at all. Maybe
the sharpener was having a bad day. Maybe they've got a new guy and you didn't get the OG experience, man. Like, there's those aspects as well. And like, I bought plenty of knives from other companies, and you buy 2 knives from the same company, one of them might be not as sharp as the other. And we push ourselves to try and get better and better and better. And I think that we're going to continue to raise that bar for us.
I believe you will. Yeah, that's the motto of the company, I think.
Thanks.
Keep pushing the bar. Let's see, what else. What else are we talking? And what else is on the horizon for you guys? You got Blade West coming up, right? We've got some more shows for the rest of the year. It's not over yet.
So show-wise, the 2 opportunities you have as far as us exhibiting that we currently have on the roster are Blade West, which is October 13th, 14th. And then we have California Custom Knife Show, cool. Which is November. Figure out what Thanksgiving is. I think it's November 9th. 10th. 10th is the Friday Night Blade Affair, and the show's the 11th and 12th, I believe. But you can definitely look those up online. California Custom Knife Show Fall is what you'd want us to Google search. But we will be there exhibiting as both Tactile Turn and Tactile Knife Company. And then same with Blade West, we'll have both companies being exhibiting. Anytime you go to a knife show, if our name's on the roster, you'll have the ability to handle our full roster of pins, and you'll be able to purchase our full roster of knives that we can offer.
I forgot to check. Are lefty barrel pens yet available yet?
Barrel pens, like you mean the bolt actions?
Let me be precise. This is a lefty pen with a barrel lock, but
bolt action. Yeah, there are lefty bolt actions. I believe those are actually on stock on the website. They had a full restock here 2 weeks ago or less.
What about the slims?
I don't know if it was for the slim lineup as well.
I keep checking in.
Yeah.
I like the slims. I like your pens a lot. The grip is wonderful. The bolt is really fun to play with.
Thanks.
They're ahead. If I carry this at work, people ask about it. They're like, "What's with that pen?" And they want to hold it and try it. But I really like the slims. and I had a righty slim, and I sold it when the lefty came out. So I'm just waiting for the slims. I'll have to grab a couple.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick, for joining the stream. Appreciate it.
Good night, Patrick. Patrick watches every week. He's always here.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got our regular viewers. If you guys have any questions for Michael, feel free to throw them up in the comments. We're gonna stall for a minute.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to walk the show or see anybody else's stuff that caught your eye at the Makers Syndicate?
Real quick, let me talk on this before Patrick bounces.
Okay.
He asked about the Lone Star. So last year, we hosted a Lone Star Invitational here at the shop, and it was really well received. We loved doing that, and that's definitely a show we want to do again. I had a lot of personal issues pop up this year that made it where I wasn't able to host the event. So we're postponing it to next year. I've got to talk with the big players and get them all online as far as what date they want, and then we'll get the venue and get everything dialed in. Nice. So yeah, definitely look for more updates from Tactile on that. It should be coming. Hopefully we can get some updates before the end of the year.
Awesome.
So walking the show in the Makers Syndicate. Yeah, I didn't get to walk it during the show itself as much just because I was running the table. I walked it a tiny bit just to make some introductions for some friends. But the show itself, I got to walk it before the doors opened. And I'm the worst person with names. But there was amazing knives from every single maker. There wasn't a single person there that didn't have really great attention to detail, really great finishing, really great actions, really great fitment in their knives. Just like I forget the maker, his logo Z and E, but he had a frame lock flipper, but it had two pieces without having a backspacer or without having barrel spacers. It was two full mill pieces of titanium that intersected that made a perfect little V, and the tolerance that was held to make it where the blade didn't ding that was really, really, really tight. Wow. So it also, like, I tip my hat to him because in the assembly process, if your blade's not centered or your blade's not dialed in perfectly, you're going to grind the shit out of it, and you're going to have to bring it back to finishing so that you can finish it up again to put it back in assembly. And so, like, just holding tolerances like that is something I like to see. The new Holt models were really amazing, and just what they brought to the table. Oz, everything they brought was amazing. I hung out with him for over 2 or 3 hours, but the guy that made Bally Song knives, he brought a batch of flippers, and those were his first batch of flippers, and those were really well executed. They were hard milled, and you could see the progression kind of like a Grimsmo, but they were really well designed, really well finished, and the pocket clip itself was even good, super slim, super sleek. Look forward to seeing what he can come up with in the future. I handled a couple of Koenigs. Those were really great as well. Edison's a really good friend of mine. I've known him since 2017 East Coast Custom Knife shows whenever we first hung out. And like his work's always flawless. It always is astounding how well executed his process is. Even whenever he was using fully manual Bridgeport mills, just like the tolerance stack that he was holding is astronomical. Shit that I wouldn't want to hold as a production shop. And I really love seeing his progression to using 2 Haas mini mills. And like I look forward to seeing what the future holds for him as well.
Tom, there was a new trend that started. I don't know if it started on this show, but I didn't notice it for the first time. There were at least 2 tables, maybe 3, where they had one of their knives exploded under glass, so you could see all the components that made the knife.
I like that.
There was a new maker that I'd never heard of before, and for right now the name's slipping my mind. Somebody might throw it in the comments, but you could see that the milling on the inside of the scales was just bananas. It had a lattice pattern that was much more complicated. It was almost close to a honeycomb, except there were diamonds. So it was just a ton of them, and you could just kind of see the attention to detail. Like, this guy's a machinist and he's a designer. Sometimes you're one or the other. This guy was both, and I hope that trend continues because it's kind of fun to be able to like see the inside. That's the first thing we do anyway when we buy them, right? We take them apart. So
Well, hopefully not, but yeah, we do.
we don't want to avoid the warranty, of course.
Yeah, don't want to avoid
Real quick, I'll answer Don McGregor's comment. He
Yeah.
says, love the series from Tactile, and he hints at what might be available in the future. So with regards to the series, Tactile Turn has done seasonal releases every quarter. And the last release was Ember. The next release, I'm not gonna burn that surprise for y'all, but I will show you the Ember Maverick. So this is the first time that the Maverick's been used as a platform for the seasonal release.
Cool.
So we put a red with FX material, so it has a shimmer to it. So there's 3 or 4 coatings to be able to get this in Cerakote. It's got DLC accents on the hardware. It's got orange Cerakote accent for the pivot, and then yellow Cerakoted for the thumb studs.
That is
really
cool to tell.
The last really cool feature is the pocket clip has Cerakoted and then has a tree a tree pattern. So like if you cut a tree in half, like the grain, the rings. Yeah, it's got a ring pattern to it. So that's going to be releasing here in a couple weeks. So if you like the Ember pin release, definitely keep an eye out for the Tactile Knife Company Maverick in that colorway.
You've talked me into buying a Maverick. I'm going to get one.
Yeah.
I wanted one for a minute, and I keep finding other things that distract me, other shiny objects, but now I need a couple Mavericks.
I'll go into the subject of what's happening this Thursday. This Thursday, we have a release of G10s. So those are going to be coming up. We have them in orange, purple, OD green, and my personal favorite is probably the purple. I really like that combo.
Purple G10 looks good.
Then we have like a blood red. Lighting's not the best in this, but really like how that turned out.
Yeah. What's the price point on that with G10?
G10's $279 I think it's $279.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So your Maverick pricing ranges the micarta starts at $249, correct?
$249. The standard titanium starts at $350, and then $400 is what the Ember I believe is going to MSRP at, and then we have other stuff like show specials and limited stuff that's typically $400 as well.
Where's the best place? Is it just on your website, or do you have a dealer network as well? Or is the best?
We have a great dealer network. Yeah, we work with Monkey Edge, DLT, Knife Center, Knife Joy, Blade HQ, all the big guys. A lot of small guys as well. So if there's a boutique knife company, they aren't boutique, but we also work with like River's Edge, so many great companies. We try to work with a lot of retail spaces that display the knives as well. So like House of Blades in Fort Worth is one of our good friends. So like you can handle the knife in person. Also, if you are in the DFW area and you want to come see the shop, definitely recommend hitting us up on social media. We'll try and get you a shop tour. And let you hold whatever product you're wanting to get before you have to purchase it.
That's awesome.
Or if you're traveling through and want to see the shop, that's another thing we do quite often. But we've typically got 3 or 4 little tours from people that just pop up and want to see the facility. Recommend reaching out to us first, just so we know and to expect you. But yeah, we love showing people the shop and showing people where it's made. Like something we haven't touched on, but I think it's kind of implied is like these are all USA made knives, and by USA made I mean made 100 yards this way or less. Like we have everything here at our facility. We've got.
You're not ordering components from another country and then having them shipped in bulk and then assembling in locally.
We're not ordering components. We're not sending out designs. We're lasering or EDMing. We're flatness grinding. We're heat treating. We're bevel grinding. We're milling profiles. We're milling the handles. We're milling the hardware. We're bending the pocket clips. We're doing everything that we can here. The only components we aren't doing are like washers, bearings. We're going to be using, by the way, shout out to skiffs. Skiffs are what we're using for bearings on the Archer.
Nice.
But the Maverick, shout out to our spring company, which is like 2.5 miles away. So every pin, the spring's made 2.5 miles away from our shop. Every Maverick, the coil spring is made 2.5 miles away from our shop as well. We love, if we have to order something, we love trying to stay as local as we can. Our heat treat's 30 minutes away. We love keeping as much process as we can internally or close by.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's a challenge, and a lot of people don't understand it. Not going to try and get too political, but let me touch on it for a second. Chinese manufacturing is highly subsidized by the government. We don't get that privilege. Chinese manufacturing also has labor subsidized by the government and housing subsidized. So like we don't have the privilege of doing a lot of these things. We pay a living wage for all of our employees. We have close to 40, give or take, and every single person has a family. Every single person has to feed themselves. And like we take a lot of pride that we are able to have that living wage and have insurance and all these other things that we can do as a company and contribute to help our employees out, and being able to still at that same time make a product that we are very proud of. I'm not saying like Chinese knives aren't great. Like there are some freaking amazing Chinese knives.
Yeah, obviously, they're great. That's a silly argument that some people make, and they're still holding on to it. It's not a winning argument.
Yeah.
It's not about the good or better or best. It's about it's not a fair comparison. They're not the same thing.
So like I just want people to be able to look at a product and understand why is that price tag different. Yes, there are other components, but those are some of the major contributing factors.
Right.
Is like right now we've got $80,000 a month that goes out to machine payments because we have so many machines here at the shop, and like we take a lot of pride in having that capability. But that means that we've got to keep everything going. We got to sell enough units to keep the lights on. And we're very blessed to be able to continue to do this and have this knife company grow. And I look forward to seeing what the future holds for it. It's going to be amazing.
Nice thing about just the knife hobby in general is you don't have to argue too hard with people to sell on being American made is a positive thing. Like people understand that doesn't come for free, and I don't know. It's this hobby especially. I see that it's an extra point. You get an extra point for that no matter what. Like people pay more and they understand that. Yes.
I wish there was more transparency, I guess is the way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess like that is something we don't really do, but this knife doesn't say USA made, but it is USA made. But there are a lot of knives out there that aren't USA made. And like they may not like let people know as much as they could. I go ahead.
A problem that I have with this conversation is a lot of times it instantly turns into a race conversation when it's not a race conversation. It's an economic conversation.
Yeah, it's just the price of the goods.
Our country is capable of making things like this. And when you compare it to a country where there's no private ownership of anything and everything's owned by the government and all the employees are paid by the government and all this, they don't care. They're just passionate about making profit because really their only ambition is to employ their people. It's not what you're doing. You're creating things. Also, let's talk about that. You guys are inventing and innovating and creating things. And often, other economies are reacting to it, or they're cloning, or they're copying. They're not creating. So, it's harder to be the first to do something. It's harder to be at the front of it. It's easier to be the me too and follow behind and clone things. So it's just not the same. So when you're standing at the knife store and you're looking at a $64 knife and it looks really, really good, and then next to it is a $350 knife, and you go, well, why are they different? Talk to the guy at the store. They can probably tell you a lot about why they're different. And it's something that you should know before you make your decision. And ultimately buy the one that's right for you, but know what you're buying. It's okay to learn about this stuff and invest a little time to understand that, this knife is made in Texas. It's made by Texans. It's made in America. And, that means something.
This knife's made in America.
Absolutely.
This knife's made in America. This knife's made in America. We compete against each other, and I love that competition. But it's definitely a little bit more of a level playing field whenever we go against people that are on that level playing field. And I'm grateful for this community and the support that they have for those companies as well. Because without them being who they are, we couldn't be who we are. Like I've got mad respect for every single company out there that's able to hawk it and keep pushing and hustle and grind, because it is a grind. Like it never stops being a grind, no matter how big you get. Like if you think that Chris Reeves Knives isn't a grind every single day of the week, it is. Like there's a reason why they have 6 years worth of backlog, because they have so much demand and they're not going to reach it because they are working to their extent, to the ability that they have. Microtech's the same way. Strider, Hinderer, all these companies, like we push ourselves as hard as we can to stay in this industry, and we're definitely all. I hope we are all appreciative of our collectors, of our customers, and I really am thankful to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So what else y'all got going on? What's y'all's goals to wrap out this year as a knife collector, as a knife enthusiast?
I'll let you go first, Tom.
I have gone through the last few years my Spyderco focus collection, and what I've kind of been into. Gone from, I used to have like 400 and something Spydercos. I used to be a massive collector. I used to have a bunch of multiples and stuff. But really, my attention of what I've gotten down to, I've kind of focused and just on smaller, which is a weird feeling. I'm not chasing a lot of stuff anymore, which feels, it's not as exciting, but it feels good to be happy with what I have. And I've been really focused on learning to sharpen better and better every day. Like I've been professionally sharpening for 9 months now, and that's what I've kind of found my focus on, my joy in this hobby in, is improving my skills at that. And just taking my knives, like this is a knife that I've had for years, but I just got out of the box today and I put a new edge on it, and now it's like my new favorite thing for the day to enjoy. So that's kind of where I'm at with the collecting world. Is I got a Mini Arius, was like the last knife I was really chasing, and I feel content. It's not the most exciting answer, but I'm pretty content with my collection. I'm just like enjoying learning about like manufacturing processes and how stuff is made and just the details of the knife industry. Now that I've been there, I've seen, and I know what I like, kind of thing. Now I'm just interested in learning how stuff's made and how I can do better at it.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I'm in that same situation. Like the last knife that I bought was a Spyderco. Like I'm not chasing the customs of past. Like I've spent up to $4,000 on a Jeremy Marsh custom that I really wanted, and like now my most carried knife at this moment is Chris Reeves, and in the other pocket's one of ours, and like I'm content with different. I'm also like I'm happy whenever I see innovation, whenever I see new locking mechanisms, new applications, new designs, how that design language functions. That's definitely an interesting way of putting it. Like just slimming it down and being appreciative of what we have, and I found myself much more in that mindset.
For me, I've been down the road like Tom, where I was chasing exclusive releases, chasing drops, trying to build a collection of knives that largely I wasn't using and I wasn't carrying, and it was about buying it and making sound investments, and I was overcomplicating what was making me happy about my collection. So I sold off a lot of mine and rethought about it or revisited what I was trying to do. And now I'm at a point where I like the relationships that I can have with the makers and the respect that I have for the type of work they do and how they do it and the people that they are. And then I like to support them because I've done lots of small business, little guy stuff in my life, and I know how hard it is to get your friends to buy the thing that you're sweating over, and your blood, your blood, sweat, and tears are being poured out over something, and strangers are buying your stuff, but your friends aren't. And I know how hard that is, and I like supporting those guys. Another thing I'm really excited about is like the inception and the incubation of these guys. So there's a friend in the group that started making knives. He started out making pocket clips, and from pocket clips it turned into scales, and from scales he started making knives. And recently he stopped his day job, and he's doing it full time now. So he's going all in. He's made less than 10 folders, and he's got 2 designs that he's really happy with. And in my opinion, he's ready for prime time. He could have a table at a show at this point, even 10 knives in. And he's such a talent, and I can't wait to own one of his knives. And I keep trying to give him money, but he keeps telling me like, I'm not ready yet. So, I'm super excited to be able to buy a knife from him before they're even serialized, before the box is figured out, like before the tchotchkes that come with the knife are figured out. And then 5 years from now, when he's hot shit, I'll be able to hold up my knife that's like the pre-proto and go, ha, I got one early. That to me, that like the story attached to that part of it is worth more to me than buying, an exclusive, hard to get, rare thing that I'll never carry.
Yeah. I definitely have so much respect for every entrepreneur out there.
Yes.
Both in this industry and that's not in this industry. Like I remember back in 2016, whenever I told my father-in-law that I was working for, hey, here's 2 weeks. This wraps it up. And my wife and I both at that time were
you had to tell your father-in-law I'm chasing a dream.
Yeah,
we
were definitely going separate ways, so it was an inevitable occurrence. But my wife and I started a business together by our own sweat and tears and $300, and turned it into something that kept the lights on and kept us going. And like the hustle and the grind and the passion, like you can't buy that. You can't buy those memories, and like to know that you made it on your own, like even if it's for a season, like I've got mad respect for everyone that's able to hawk it in this world, in this economy, in this like
definitely
things are not the same way that they used to be. And like I may be young, but like I miss what it was whenever I was a kid, and I'm honored to be able to be living this dream of being in the knife industry, and honored to be able to be a part of the foundation of a knife company. And I look forward to seeing every maker friend of mine that has grown from, like you said, making from pimping out stuff to making stuff to like making accessories to making knives. Like there's mad respect for that.
Absolutely. It's not easy. And the guys that are building their own pirate ships, they're figuring out how to, develop their own customer base and then market to them and then build things that they're excited about and grow their business. Like I have so much respect for that. It's not easy to do. And, there's a few makers I can think of off the top of my head that are very, very good at that. And man, I don't know. To me, I have all the respect in the world for that.
Yeah. So you brought up a subject, and it definitely made my brain go off on a tangent. Pirate ships there's definitely been an influx of a certain visual aesthetic in the knife community. Has that crossed over into y'all's realm of this Facebook group, or is this kind of like the last hurrah where y'all are still the way y'all were?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So
has the pirate theme infiltrated knives? Is that what you
mean?
The
pirate, like it definitely has. Yeah, like the literal pirate theme, because I know where it comes from.
Well, we all like booty.
Yeah, I definitely understand that.
No, the pirate thing is kind of stayed on Instagram as far as I'm concerned. There's definitely a lot of, there's some of those people are members of the group, but we have our own style, I guess. I don't know. The group's diverse, but the pirate thing is infiltrated to that level, I guess.
Yeah,
my meaning in the term is about independence.
No, I understand, but it just made my brain go on a tangent. It's something I've poked fun at because like I remember EDC before pirate coins and before that kind of stuff. Back whenever Vox nailers were the shit.
I think maybe the Punisher skull transitioned into the pirate skull, right? Maybe that was
now
the
you
next
just ruined
thing.
pirates for me forever. Oh, now
You
I
had
look at the same.
you had the Monon Labe theme along with the Punisher skull, and I don't see as much of that now. It's like now we're into what is it? Parrots and eye patches or something.
Yeah. And Krakens
yes, Krakens.
Yep.
Well,
I made a lot of money on Krakens, man. I made a lot of money on Krakens.
We have a very important question for you, Michael Miller.
What you got, boss?
Shake Shack, Five Guys, or Whataburger?
I'm gonna say Shake Shack because it's just damn good.
Really?
Yeah.
How dare you? You're in Texas.
Yep. Probably Shake Shack, and then it goes In and Out just because it's always consistent and it's fast. Five Guys is better than In and Out.
It's not very good.
Yeah, Five Guys is better than In and Out, but Five Guys takes a little bit of time.
It does.
I live so like one small little factor. Like I live an hour and a half away from here, so like it takes like I'm putting in close to 15 hours of commute every single week, and so like sometimes the convenience is nice. It's definitely not helped my figure, but I need to. One of our goals personally is to move closer to the shop because being here every single day makes an impact, and I want to be able to. Yeah,
those
it's difficult.
Like the commute, they like it.
Yeah. So like DFW, I live on the outside on one edge, and I have to drive all the way to the edge of the other side.
Oh my god!
Through it all. So.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's wild.
Podcasts like this are stuff that helps get me by.
Yeah, a little hardcore history.
Yeah. Knife industry. Like shout out to Mark of the Maker. Shout out to Edge and Flow. Both really good podcasts. And if you like that kind of stuff about the knife industry, really high recommend both of them.
Very nice. Man, Shake Shack, that surprises me. I would probably put that third behind. I haven't had Whataburger, so I can't speak.
I haven't had Whataburger, but there's a lot of proud Texans in the group, and I've had them send me sauces from Whataburger because they're so into it.
Whataburger, maybe it's because I'm in a small town and ours just ain't that great. Maybe that's what's got me jaded, but like Shake Shack's damn good. I really think it is.
I know a guy that had a Whataburger flown from Texas to Indianapolis so he could have it because he had moved. He had moved up here, and
And next time we do the show, definitely let me know, and I can bring you one so you can experience it firsthand. They have one in the airport, right? I was a few steps away from bringing you one if you wanted it. Oh man, that sucks. Sorry, Max.
The guy's in paradise crying because he can't have a hamburger.
Yeah. Speaking of Paradise, so I actually went to school in Paradise before I was homeschooled. They quit making short buses short enough for me, but like there's actually a literal town named Paradise where I'm from. Yeah,
Paradise, Texas.
Yeah, it's just south of where I live in Decatur.
Okay.
Yeah, it's man, I'm really thankful for this industry. I'm thankful for all the collectors. I know like this is a crossover. Not everyone here knows about Tactile, and I appreciate y'all giving me the platform to be able to share like what it is to be part of a startup knife company in 2023. Like we're not even 3 years, or we are just 3 years old. I've officially worked for this company for 3 years as of last week, and like this is really. I'm excited to see what the future holds.
I think you underestimate like the penetration of your product into this group. My God, there's so many pens.
That is true. That is true.
Pencils and pens that have been sold or they've bought and sold them, or they've collected them. So like when you see an EDC dump, there's always a cool pen in there, and it's most likely yours more often than
Thanks.
not.
You can even increase it more. Post everything you're thinking about tactile knives. Post it. Just
Please
post
do.
it in the group. Doesn't
Awesome,
matter.
yeah.
Anything like, hey, here's a picture of a new machine we got in the shop. Post it. People eat that shit up when it comes
Yeah.
to
Let me share some of the behind the scenes whenever I do those posts. I'll bring those over here so that y'all can see kind of the progression.
Can I
Those
request
kind of
something
things.
in particular?
Yeah, sure thing.
Everyone's heard of a wire EDM. No one's ever
Sure.
seen it go. And there are not very many knife companies that own one. So that's a massive advantage for you guys. And if we could see like how the wire EDM works, that would be really cool.
So let me explain it, and this is going to be layman's terms because I'm not the man that runs it. But a wire EDM uses a wire instead of using a laser or using sand. So a water jet utilizes water, but the real cutting agent is sand. And a laser uses a fiber laser to be able to cut through the material, or CO2, or whatever style. CO2s for different materials, but we use a fiber laser, and it's expensive to run, by the way. But wire EDMs use a wire that they electrically charge, and it creates an arc, and then the arc technically erodes the material. And it's a very, very slow process. So like if you want to watch somebody cut something with a water jet, that's fast. You want to watch somebody cut something with a laser, that's fast. If you want to watch somebody cut something with a wire EDM, it better be on time lapse, or you're gonna pull your hair out. But like you're able to stack materials high. So a laser cuts one flat material. But a wire EDM, you've got 8 layers of titanium or 8 layers of blade steels, and it's cutting it with extreme precision. Like the precision that you're able to hold on a wire EDM, like a laser couldn't even dream about doing that, and a water jet could never even think about doing that. Like you're holding to the 10th of a thousandth of an inch. A human hair is 5,000ths of an inch. So 1/50th of a human hair is what you're able to hold for tolerance for a wire EDM, and you're able to adjust like what size wire you have if you want to do more detail. It's extremely interesting, and I'll post up a little spiel about it, either video form or something like that, so I can explain it a little bit better and show y'all what like a nest of wire EDM parts looks like versus a nest of lasered parts.
That's cool. Man, that would be neat.
Yeah. Anytime, any questions y'all have like that, like I know like we talked about our seasonal releases, but all of our Cerakote's done in-house. All of our assemblies done in-house, like all of our sharpening's done in-house, all of our grinding's done in-house. If there's an aspect of this machine shop that y'all want to see, shoot me a message and I'll share it anytime y'all want. We've got a lot of transparency here at the shop. Like we don't mind showing off the process that we do, because really, in all honesty, if you want to try and do this, you're more than welcome to. You can learn the same stuff that we learn. We'll help you somewhat along the way, but we're not going to give you all of our trade secrets. But we're willing to show you what we do.
Right.
Well, first thing I want to see a post. I want to get a little better look at it. Take a picture of that prototype, the arch. I can't. Damn.
Nope. You're gonna have to screenshot that.
Screenshot it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll get some pictures once we have like the full press release. But
okay.
I wanted to share that off here. This is the first time on social media or that wasn't just like this fast of a presentation of it. So like we're really excited for it. Yeah.
It's got my juices flowing, I'll say that.
Thank you.
I'm not chasing a lot of stuff, but that's something that makes me very interested. I'll definitely say that. That's a
Michael, I think you didn't hit it earlier. Can you give us a price range that you're aiming for? Maybe not specifically, but like a range for that knife.
Yeah, so like ballpark, we're looking at somewhere around $575, give or take $50 either way, for the milled version, which I think is extremely competitively priced. And for the smooth version with the inlays, we're going to start those somewhere around 7 something, 8 something. So we should fit well in the market with what else is out there as far as options. But like I said as well, like don't expect to go to a show and have enough for everybody, just because, especially right now with our capabilities, I don't see us making too crazy many of these.
Right. Awesome. Well, Michael, we just did 90 minutes. You have a long drive home, so maybe we should wrap it up here. But
thanks.
Anything else you want to add?
If you're a maker out there, like we do offer some services. We have so much turning capability. If you want hardware, we can definitely help you with that. If you are a designer and you want a fixed blade, we'll make that full turnkey OEM, except for like a sheath in a box. But we're not doing full OEMs for folders. If you need help with some other components, especially flatness grinding, our shops has that in spades. We don't mind helping this industry and being able to offer those services for other makers who are starting off and getting going. If you want to support us, yeah, for sure. Check out our website, buy product available there, or you can also buy from our authorized dealers. There's a link there. It's right next to your mouse. Or no, it's over on the left-hand column. But our dealer list is on the website as well. Come to a knife show, man. If you're listening to this and you've never been to a knife show, even if you're in Hawaii, they've had knife shows there too, and hopefully they have another one here soon. But like, knife shows really give you a pulse of what this industry is. It lets you see things in person. It lets you talk to people and shake their hands. And like, we are who we are in the shop and at shows. And Tactile is a company we hope to meet as many people in this industry as we can, that are collectors, that are makers as well. If you have a question for us and you want help learning something, or any questions you have, we're willing to help out the people that we can in this industry. Like, we really want this industry to be better and grow. And if you've got friends who don't know about knives, tell them about knives. Even if they don't buy a Tactile product, I'd rather them have a better pocket knife in their pocket, or a pocket knife in their pocket, than not. So I'm thankful for this community and every member in it. Really am. And thank you, Jason and Tom, for the opportunity to be able to speak and talk to y'all.
Please don't be shy. If there's something else that pops up you want to talk about, you're welcome to join us. We like having guests, and we strive to have a weekly show. We do our best, plus or minus children, but usually every Saturday night we're going live. So if something comes up, please let us know.
I talked to you about it, Jason, but I'd love to also get other members of our shop on here as well, so they can give their perspective, because it's our engineer could give a completely different perspective than mine. Our metallurgist could do the same, and Will, as the owner, could give a completely different perspective from his view of what it takes to do what we do, and his view in this industry, because he's been in this industry for over a decade, and as full-time business. So like, there's been plenty of struggles and difficulties that he's had, and his ability to push through those and to get to the other side is very inspiring for all of us as part of this shop.
Awesome.
That's great.
Thanks for being a part of the show, Michael. We appreciate you. And
thanks, guys.
We'll just say goodnight here. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you on Saturday, and we'll be back again. We'll probably hit a little bit more about Makers Syndicate, talk a little bit more about what's in our pocket, what we got in the mail. Got some new stuff on my desk here that we didn't get to tonight, but we'll talk about it next weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Night.